same premise, which is that white supremacy is based on white genetic survival without question. If you're white and see, the interesting thing about the European, and this goes to what Phil was saying earlier about racism, is that he's in control politically or militaristically, but he's not in control biologically. That's the issue. That's the Achilles heel of white supremacy. We are controlling economically, politically, militaristically, educationally, but we don't rule biologically. The African rules biologically. See, that is the great balance of power, if you would. They have all the power except the biological. And because they don't have the biological, their power isn't guaranteed perpetually. Because if you're weak biologically, that means you risk extinction on your own without anybody doing anything to you. On the opposite, you have the African, who cannot be made extinct biologically because he's genetically dominant. So if you want to kill the African, you have to do something to the African. If you want to get rid of the European, you just leave them to themselves. You see? And so that's the great crux of this. You know, that's the great white supremacist predicament. You know, and that also helps explain the hatred that they have for African people. Because we got all this power. People are still here. You know, and it's because of our biological authority, our biological dominance. That's the inferiority complex that the European suffers from, and that's why you're always trying to get rid of black folks. Because he is hypersensitive about the risk of not only intermarriage or interdating, but also of extermination, self-inflicted extermination by virtue of melanin deficiency, because white people are basically at a zero population growth rate. Their numbers have not been climbing. They've been stuck at about 10% of the world ever since they came out of the cave. So they're not doing too good when it comes to regeneration. That's why fertility drugs are so popular amongst them. They're 10 kids at a time, 15 kids at a time, because they're very conscious of their ability to be wiped out without military warfare. You do not have to kill them. They can kill themselves off. They're destined to self-exterminate because of their weak genetic pool. So what they have to do is get rid of everybody else, so this way they think that maybe they can survive. But even if they were to hypothetically get rid of everybody else and be the only people left on the planet, I still don't see them lasting a very long time, because you really don't find mutated species that are able to exist perpetually into the future. And I'm not even wishing nothing on them, but, you know, it's interesting because when you talk about survival of the fittest and natural selection, which one of the greatest white supremacists on earth, you know, pioneered in that, Charles Darwin, you know, he talked about how what? He said that the strong naturally overcome the weak. So if the strong naturally overcome the weak, and black genetics is stronger than white genetics, what did he really say? He thought he was saying that whites were stronger. But what he really said is, in the natural order of things, the mutated species will naturally die off and reintegrate itself into the unmutated species, or the dominant gene. So using his own theory, he could argue that the day will come when there will be no more white people, whether they like it or not.